Hello, I'm Jenny, and welcome back to You Can Do Hard Things Pod. Can you imagine being so unbearably thirsty that you're drinking 20 or even 30 litres of water every single day and it doesn't seem to hit it, and nobody can tell you why? That's exactly where this conversation leads. If you listen to part one of my chat with Laura Pond, you'll know we finished by talking about what policing is really like behind the scenes. In this episode, we leave the job behind and we get to know the person. Laura shares her remarkable journey of living with a rare medical condition that literally took years to diagnose, the impact it's had on her life, and how she's learned to navigate the uncertainty that comes along with it. We also talk about her losing her dad, living with grief, finding resilience when life changes forever, and discovering how to keep putting one foot in front of the other, even on those hardest days. It's an honest conversation with moments that are emotional, moments that are uplifting, and as always, plenty of laughs along the way. So before we get started, if you're enjoying the podcast, I really would love it if you could subscribe or follow wherever it is you're listening to us today. And as you are listening, I'd love to know what resonates with you most. So leave me a little comment. I do read every single one, and they really do help get this podcast out to more people. So wherever you're listening from, thank you for joining us. This is part two of my conversation with Laura Pond. Let's get into it. You can do hard things.
What do you think is the reality of CT compared to TV's view of it? They're so different.
TV's view is just so more slick, isn't it? You know, everyone rocks
Policing.
up. Yeah, in policing, full stop. Everyone rocks up, everyone works together. You know, there's just this teamwork. We just get it done and we get it solved. We get it solved really quickly.
Do you not think keep it there so we get it solved?
Yeah, it's just like...
You don't see many documentaries where we didn't get it solved, do you?
No, it's like The Bill. Do you know what I mean? They used to all work together, CID, uniform. There was no us and them. They all worked together, and they solved it within approximately 27 minutes and ad break. And I think that's true of a lot of TV's portrayal, even the documentaries and things like that. You know, they always get to an outcome and they get there efficiently. Everyone's happy.
Do you watch the documentaries around policing, especially stuff that you've either A, had an involvement in, or B, have an awareness of? Did you have an awareness of that boombox one recently?
Had awareness from when I was there, but I hadn't watched the documentary.
Okay.
I still haven't watched it. Yes and no. I stopped for a long while. After I got the PTSD, when I was after I was diagnosed with it.
How did that come about, the diagnosis?
I answered a questionnaire honestly.
Oh, brave. Where were you working then?
So I was in international operations within Counter-Terrorism Command. And I was, like I said, I was suffering a bit. I thought it was burnout.
You say suffering?
Yeah, I thought it was burnout.
Give me what do you mean?
Bit of depression maybe.
Okay.
Stress. I had lost interest in a lot of things I like. I'd stopped being positive about a lot of things. Mm-hmm. I didn't really want to get up in the mornings. And now that sounds quite dramatic. I wasn't suicidal or anything like that, but I was tired. Physically, mentally, I was just exhausted. And as a family liaison officer in the Met, you get given a questionnaire each year to fill out. And you know what to say. You know what to say, you know. Family liaison, they've identified that you might deal with stressful situations that take it out of you. And they might have an effect on you. So they give you a questionnaire. They don't give you a questionnaire for any of the other things, but they give you a questionnaire for that. And you know that you need to be relicensed every year. You need to be able to carry on as a family liaison officer.
Yeah. Am I losing it?
Yeah. So, and you also know, and there is a stigma which still exists. I mean, it's come a long way in the mental health, and I would not dispute that.
Yeah.
But there is still a stigma, as there is in many walks of life, about mental health.
And like you just said there, it's come a long way everywhere, but there's still a stigma everywhere.
There's still a stigma.
I would say.
You still don't want to be the one that turns around and says, actually, I'm struggling to get out of bed in the mornings. You know, I cry a lot, and I don't always know why.
Yeah, because you think you won't get the promotion next time because of that, because you're weak.
Everyone's going to think you can't cope with things. You know, what have you dealt with that's so bad, that's worse than everyone else? You know, why aren't you coping with it? What's wrong with you? And all these thoughts go through your head, so you just keep going. And I'd been just keep going for quite a while. And one day I get my questionnaire, and you know what to say. And you know when it asks you, you know, have you lost interest in any of the things you love doing? You know to say, no,
Nothing's changed.
life,
Everything's
really
fine.
enjoying everything. I take time for myself. But I don't really, I think subconsciously now I knew I needed some help.
Mhm.
I knew something was going on. I didn't really know what. At the time, just something, I just thought, excuse my language, fuck it.
Yeah.
I will be honest here.
Do you think maybe you thought as well, actually, when you say fuck it, I do need help, the police actually do help. If you say I need help, they do help.
Yeah. There is a part of me that thought I needed help and they will give it to me.
Yeah.
And it's acknowledging to yourself, isn't it? Everyone's going to say you're exactly what you think you are. You know, you're a girl, you shouldn't be doing this job. This isn't for you. You're not strong enough. And like,
I'm everything that you thought I was.
Yeah, here I am. I've worked so hard to disprove it. But actually, no, I am.
Actually,
all
you're
these
right.
Things. I'm weak.
Yeah. I hear it. Yeah.
And it's a lot to go into it, but it almost became a snap decision. So I answered it honestly. I didn't exaggerate. I answered it honestly. And they had me in front of a psychologist within about 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And this is something I couldn't fault for them at. I got over a year with a psychologist alongside my job. So they broke me, but they fixed me.
You. Did they?
No, I stand by the fact they did right by me.
They did the best they could.
They did the best they could. And I got a psychologist who specialised in PTSD, vicarious PTSD. She recognised it straight away, even when others didn't. Because I'd been to the doctor just before that.
As in, like, local GP type doctor?
Yeah, I've been to the GP.
I mean, they're not going to get it, are they?
And I'd said that I think I need something like the antidepressant word or something because I'm suffering and I'm struggling. And I did have a lot of stuff going on then. So it wasn't just work. And I didn't know what was going on, but I thought I need something. So the doctor obviously put me on some antidepressants, quick as Jack Flash, told me to refer myself to, I can't remember what it was called at the time, the label on it, but, you know, the mental health services. That ended up with me with 6 sessions of CBT with a local nurse. But I think the war crimes thing blew her mind. So what we got to was we talked about the fact I was skipping breakfast. She told me that there are things you can buy in the supermarket, like cereal bars, that I could maybe get and I could eat them on the train, so I wasn't skipping breakfast. In my head, I was witnessing, when I closed my eyes, people having broken bottles inserted into them, stillborn babies, you know, atrocities. But she, in my mind, was telling me that it was because I was skipping breakfast. And if I ate a cereal bar on the train on the way into work, then that would help. And that's where I was going wrong. And it very much became a me problem, which it is. It was a me problem. You know, I don't dispute that, but I'm not sure it was because I was skipping breakfast. And she also said to me, like, I'm not getting enough sleep. I didn't get enough sleep for like
20 years,
about 20 years of my life.
Yeah.
At that bad, yeah, it was at that stage. It was pretty bad sleep wise. I would get home at 8, 9 at night. I was getting up at 4 in the morning. I was trying to get some sleep, and she'd say, "You need 8 hours. You need 8 hours sleep. You need a good meal in the evening." And I was working out, right, I can get up at 4 in the morning. Okay, so if I get my 8 hours sleep, I need to be asleep by 8 p.m. I only get home at 8 p.m. When am I having my dinner? Okay, so I'll have to eat dinner on the train. I'll get a cereal bar for the train in the evenings. And you know, you're like, I can't solve this. You're telling me why I feel so absolutely, you know, at a loss, you know, so empty. It's because I'm not getting 8 hours sleep a night. I can't get 8 hours sleep a night because I don't get home in time from my job to get 8 hours sleep. So that's not in my control. So what do I do? So that makes me feel more like confused, and I can't solve that. I hate not being able to solve things. That's a big part of my
that's your
whole
makeup.
thing.
You are a fixer.
I'm a fixer. I solve things, you know. So I had 6 sessions of CBT, and I just came out of it.
I'm surprised you had that many, actually. I bet you did.
Because I'm a fixer. They gave me 6 sessions, so I felt it was important that I completed 6 sessions. So regularly, off I went to the Gloucester Centre, and there was this little cold room that we'd unlock every week. In I'd go, you know, talk to Sue or Tracy or whatever she was called. And you know, she meant well. She was doing her best.
She was fucking out of her depth with you, wasn't
so
she?
out of her depth. But luckily, it came at the same time as I filled that questionnaire.
Yeah.
I got the psychologist, and long story short, and I saw her for over a year. She said to me quite early on, this is a classic case. She goes, you know, you've got PTSD. And I'm like, no. No, that's a serious thing. And we shouldn't joke about that because that's what soldiers get. And then
that's what soldiers that have been in war and seen shit get.
Yeah. And that people are going through real trauma.
Yes, let's not play around with words like that.
Yeah. So let's not. I was like, oh, it's a bit, you know, that's a bit dodgy territory.
Did it help, do you think, when they said that and you had I hate this, but I think it's one of the things that upsets me at the moment is I feel like sometimes every behaviour has a label, and it's almost like sometimes you don't need that. But do you think sometimes when you had a reason for why you felt ways, and that actually you could think, do you know what, actually I am living what these people have been through for such a long time, when you were able to, did it help? Or not until a lot later?
It wasn't that much later. It was a little bit of a revelation when she explained to me, and when I did a little bit of reading, I read some of the articles she had written.
Not like you.
A little bit of study. Bought some books. And it actually made sense. And I thought, this is what's going on. This is why I've got to the stage where, and it's embarrassing to admit, I was pretty much living in my bedroom. I'd work all day, and I would go home, and I would go to my bedroom, and I'd tell myself it was because, you know, there was no point putting the heating on for the whole house if I'm just in my upstairs room. But I would put my pajamas on, and things like the hypervigilance, things like that people with PTSD get. And I still get a little bit ashamed with this because I still associate PTSD with people that have been through horrific things. And
you feel like you haven't.
I haven't been through a horrific thing. I was just helping people with theirs, you know. So I feel like a fraud.
Yeah.
But it is what happened.
Yeah.
You know, rightly or wrongly. And I don't want to take anything away from people that have, you know, have genuinely got it in my eyes.
So you're still playing it down now, aren't you?
I will still play it down now. And I always will, because it's embarrassing for me that I got this. But I was living in the bedroom because it was my safe space.
Yeah.
You know, I lived to work. I threw everything I had at that. There was nothing left. I went home and I slept, and I stayed in my room. I used to eat my tea, if I got time, in my room. And then I'd get up and I'd do it again. Because it was safe. It was a classic safe space. I got hypervigilant, which is something that people with PTSD will get. But they get it because they've like heard car bombs and things like that. Whereas I was looking over my shoulder for someone, and I don't even know who it was. You know, I just got into that place where I'd been exposed to so much trauma that it was surrounding me, even though physically it wasn't. It was someone else's trauma. And then I feel a little bit like a fool.
But you felt because you'd had it described to you in such a level of knowing how it felt, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I'd sat and things like I did the family liaison piece, and I did.
And you haven't just had it from one person?
No, I had it from the war crimes, and that was the predominant thing. But then I was still deploying as a family liaison officer. And I remember being asked by a victim of the Borough Markets next of kin. And she was still fighting for her life.
What happened at Borough Markets?
So Borough Market was the terrorists that arrived in the van. They had knives strapped to them, and they went down off London Bridge. They'd knocked some people into the water. what was the pub? The Barrow Boy and Banker or whatever it was.
Okay.
The restaurants under there, they'd gone through stabbing people and they'd been shot by police.
Okay.
And people died.
Okay.
And I was deployed, a few roles I had on that, but predominantly I was a family liaison officer. And I supported a couple of families of people that had lived but were touch and go. One woman who'd been hit on the bridge, she was visiting from abroad, and she was in intensive care.
Oh God,
visiting. And I supported her family to the point where we had to like clear out their hotel room because they didn't want to go back. The husband didn't want to go back. He didn't want to see it. So we went and cleared out their hotel room and checked him out. And it's little things like that. But the one that stuck with me for a while, she was a British citizen. She lived not far from here. And her and her family had been out in Borough Market. Like that was where you went, wasn't it? You know, that's a nice area. Probably not you because you didn't leave home too much. But like, I used to go out around Borough Market. I used to have dinner with my friends there. You know, we used to walk there. I used to drink there. I drunk in those pubs, you know.
Yeah, you were sociable.
I was sociable. I was leaving the house at that stage in my life. And her and her family had been there. 3 generations of the family were there that night, and they'd just found themselves in the middle of this. And she'd come eye to eye with a terrorist. And she had been seriously injured, and she very nearly died. And her next of kin, one of her family members, I was supporting them, and I was giving them the idea of family liaison was to give them an update on what we knew so far, what we were doing, and to find out anything we could from them that would help. And I remember sitting opposite her, and she was asking me, she was like, you know, why do they do this, ISIS? What is their methodology? What do they think they're going to achieve? And you know, when you're sitting there and you're like, I'm just me. But how do you answer a question like that?
No.
But you can't just say, it feels like a cop-out to say, oh, I don't know that. Off you go. You know, so you feel like you have to say something, and you do have to say something. But
yeah, because I expect you to, because you're representing the Metropolitan Police.
You represent something. You're there to help. You're in a position of authority,
yeah.
Whether you want to be or not. They are looking to you right now for some sort of reassurance, an answer, something, and you have to give something. But you don't know the answer.
No.
Nothing that I can give you right now is going to justify why your family member is fighting for their life. You know, and I can't make that better. And as a fixer, that's difficult anyway.
Yeah.
I was exposed to that. I was doing the war crimes. Then there was everything going on outside. I was sleeping for like 2 hours a night. And something led me to answer that questionnaire correctly, honestly. So I had to work through that. And I think I have worked through that. I don't know if it ever goes. I don't know if you're ever cured. Sometimes.
Well, I don't think you ever get over surely for anything you've experienced to the outcome to be PTSD, surely it shapes you as a person, surely. So I don't think you can ever truly, you learn to live with it.
It's always there.
Yeah.
And they're the things that, like, I can clearly remember that day I sat in the hospital in front of her and answered that question, or tried to answer that question. You know, you don't, a year will pass, 2 years will pass. In this case, getting on for 10 years will pass. You still remember that.
Yeah.
It still shaped me.
Yeah.
And, you know, it is what it is.
Would you encourage a young female to apply to the police now?
Yes.
Would you?
Yes. I would. I'd prepare them a little bit better, I think. But I wouldn't put them off of it. One of my proudest moments is the fact I dealt with a victim of crime, and she went on to become a police officer, and she told me it was because of my actions.
What crime was that?
A false imprisonment and sexual assault. You know the charity ones that went door to door asking if you wanted to sign up to give some money. So it was young girl doing that alongside her studies, and she was dragged into the house with the guys that, you know, he would sign up, he would donate some money, and he didn't, and he kept her there, he locked her in. He assaulted her.
So it's in Edmonton?
Enfield, I believe, this one.
Okay.
The Enfield area. I mean, we're going back a little bit now. And we arrested him, charged him. He was found guilty at court.
Good.
But there was some issues and that we had to manage, things like that. But later on, after the case was long done, she reached out to me by email.
Oh.
And she said that she had applied to become a police officer because I'd inspired her, the way I'd dealt with it.
That's nice.
And what I'd done to help, and that's what she wanted to do. And she became a police officer. And those are the moments that you freaking live for.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
There ain't rewards in many ways, shape or form. And those, I would never want to tell anyone not to do it. But I would maybe caveat it with a few you should be awares.
Do you think emotional suppression gets labelled as strength?
That feels personal.
It's not.
Does it, as in, you know, do you think you're encouraged to?
I think in general, I'm trying not to put words in your mouth. I think women in general are quite emotional. So
Okay.
I think as a woman, if you suppress that emotion, you are seen as stronger. Do you agree?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, I suppose I should answer yes, because I've spent a lifetime suppressing my emotions so that I will appear stronger. So
we're both emotional creatures, but I think we're quite. I think we're quite emotional in different ways. I'm
angry.
I come across emotional that direction.
Yeah.
And you come the other way.
Whereas I'm a crier.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do see what you're saying there.
Whereas I will be deemed stronger.
Because you're more frightening.
Sometimes.
No, there is a school of thought there. That, yeah, in some ways I can come across softer, weaker. I cry more. Yeah.
Because people think you're going to cry
Which
more.
is ironic because I don't cry a lot now. But
well, you're a different person now.
I'm just highly medicated.
Do you think policing's harder now than it was when we were there?
No.
Oh, you don't?
It's always been hard. It's always been recognised differently. You know, it was recognised differently back in the day because there wasn't many women doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was hard for them in that way. You can say police were more respected back in the day. But were they? You know, Broadwater farm riots, things like that. I mean, horrific things were done.
Yeah.
It's as hard as it ever was.
Okay.
I will stand by the fact that it is one of the hardest things to do. Because you are so associated with a profession.
You are no longer, you're not Laura, you're Laura the police officer, which, yeah.
You're not Laura, you're Laura the racist.
Yeah.
You're Laura the misogynist. You take on all these labels that the police have. And it's assumed that you are, and your identity is forgotten. It's forgotten that it's like Laura. She was just a nice girl, bit quiet, and worked hard in school. You know that you forget that. It's just Laura, yeah, police officer. You can't tell people what you do. You're not encouraged to tell people what you do.
So what's the last thing you want to do anyway, isn't it?
When we used to go out, like when we used to go to clubs and drinking and things like that, we always had stories. I was a paramedic.
Yeah.
You were working in sales or something.
Or some kind of alter ego, but I know my name was Lucy.
You were Lucy. I was Elle. And, you know, we had alter egos because, heaven forbid you told someone you were a police officer.
Why would you do that?
First off, you know, you didn't tell a guy you were a police officer because no.
Well, you also couldn't tell anyone in case it looked like you were telling them because you were trying to get in somewhere free or something.
Yeah.
Oh, we could talk policing literally forever, to be honest.
We've lost everyone.
You have alluded slightly to have a condition that interrupted your life and that you've lived with for some time. It's not the norm, as with you.
There is nothing normal about this girl.
Nothing straightforward.
When you've got more than one medical condition, is a name for someone. You're polymorbid if you've got more than one condition. So she saved me on her phone as Polly.
It's not.
I suppose the condition I live with now is diabetes insipidus. So it's now known as Arginine Vasopressin Deficiency.
Oh, behave yourself.
Because it was getting too confused with diabetes, so they had to change the name.
Okay.
AVPD.
AVPD. Okay.
Yeah. So it started back in 2015, the symptoms. And I thought I was going crazy. Essentially, how it presented at the time was I was so thirsty 24/7, and I peed the entire time 24/7. That was how it presented. I was just really thirsty and I peed a lot. So
peed a lot because you're drinking a lot, right? Though I imagine.
Well, exactly. That's what you think, isn't it? If I stop drinking as much,
I won't be
peeing as much. That didn't work out in my head, but I did think I was going crazy. And it started when I was in Florida in 2015, and I thought, oh, I'm in the hot weather. Of course, I'm thirsty. Then I went on I did my international war crimes training course in The Hague. So I had it for a couple of weeks over in the Netherlands, which was very awkward because I didn't have a lot of access to drinks, and there was one toilet, and I had to keep going out every time. We were doing these like sessions. We were doing like a session on like mass burials, like war graves and things like that. And I'm like, every 27 seconds, I'm going for a pee, you know. It all started a little bit weird. Didn't really know what was going on. Put up with it for so long. Just kept thinking, if you don't drink as much, you won't pee as much. So I try not to drink as much. I still peed a lot. So I suffered in silence for quite a while because it's embarrassing. No one wants to talk about, like...
Did you look it up and think...
I looked it up for a few things. I thought at first the natural assumption was diabetes, some sort of. And I eventually went to the GP and he tested me for that. Old school. Because that's when I was living up in Ware. And
Where? Stop it.
Old school GP. Like one-man band.
Yeah.
Lovely. But I don't know how worldly he was. He tested me for diabetes. It's not that. So he referred me to an ear, nose and throat specialist. So I merrily sat on a waiting list. 6-7 months, still hadn't heard anything. Thinking I needed to see an ear, nose and throat specialist. By this stage, I was, to put it in context, I would, in a 24-hour period, I monitored it at times, and I would drink 20 to 30 litres.
Jesus Christ.
Of liquid.
20 to 30 litres?
Yeah.
So a bottle of water in Evian's what, 1.5? So you're doing 20 of them? Jesus.
I couldn't function. So I had a sleep period of about 5 hours a night because of the time I was getting home from work and when I was getting up to commute to work. It was about 5 hours in between. And I would be up on a good night 4 times. Bad night 8 times. So I never slept for more than half an hour.
Because you're thirsty or needing a piss.
And I was getting up and I was going to the loo and I was going downstairs and I was getting drinks. I did not know where I was coming or going. I caught myself one night like going downstairs clutching my toothbrush holder. So I was in some sort of delirium, you know. I don't even know where I was. I was spending an absolute fortune on drinks because I needed cold drinks, but it had to be cold.
Oh, is that what quenches it better?
Yeah.
Right.
That was helping better if it was cold. Sometimes if it had some sort of sweet hit, so squash would be all right sometimes. I developed an unhealthy obsession with orange juice, so I was piling the weight on for the sugar. But I was literally spending a fortune at Tesco's and things like that. I was spending...
Oh, at train stations, I guess.
Train stations. Whenever I left the house, because I was working from the office I had to start carrying one of those wheelie bags. I had a backpack on wheels because I was taking so much liquid with me I couldn't physically carry it.
Oh, Christ.
I was still, it wasn't enough. So I was still spending about 20 to 30 pounds a day buying drinks at stations, off licenses,
Laura.
in Metropolitan Police canteens. I mean, I was keeping those buggers going. And getting to and from work, I did so many stops. I was having to use the facilities at like Seven Sisters Station.
Oh, no, thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
A lot of the time, there was no lights. So I
Might
had...
see it a bit better if you can't see it.
Well, you say that, but when you're trying to hold your iPhone torch in your mouth whilst you go to a toilet so you don't impale yourself in a syringe,
Christ.
you question everything. But yeah, so I could get myself from where to Seven Sisters.
Yeah.
Get off there, and that's when I was working at the yard.
Seven
Sisters toilet. Then I could get myself to Victoria on a good day on the underground.
Okay.
Then off the underground all the way up into Victoria Station, pay my 50 pence to go for a pee there, and then I would get back on the tube to St James's Park, which is where the old yard was. So I'd have to stop 3 times. Sometimes, you know, that wasn't enough. I still was having to, like, I knew where every public facility was. But it was also affecting, obviously I was sleep deprived, but I couldn't concentrate on anything.
I can't imagine.
Like, because you know what it's like when you get, essentially I get severely dehydrated, which brings with it all the confusion, the lack of concentration, the headaches,
And you're just waiting for an appointment at this point?
At this point, I'm merrily waiting for an ear, nose and throat specialist. I don't know what they were going to do about it, but I was told by the GP,
turns out your sinuses are fucked.
Yeah, this is, you know, you've got grommets or something in your ear. And so I'm merrily waiting because I trusted the system. Because I didn't know everyone else around me thought I was going insane. Like,
why are you drinking so much?
I was living with, like, my fiance that was at the time, and even he was like, "You're mentally unwell."
Oh yeah, because I mean, it's so unusual, isn't it? It's not like something you think.
Heard of it?
Oh yeah, Shirley's brother's got this. It's definitely different.
I would have heard of it, and like, oh my goodness, I used to, like, if I used to travel to see any of my friends, like, all my friends were always somewhere around the M25. If there was traffic, I was screwed, mate. I'd pee myself in the car.
God.
And like, do you know what it's like wetting yourself as an adult? Like the shame, the embarrassment. And this was all just going through my head at about the same time I was getting PTSD. So literally I was, you know, fairly unhinged. But I then had an appointment with the GP, but it was a part-time GP as well. And I'd got her, and it was a routine appointment for something unrelated. And she said to me, "Oh, I see you're still waiting." And we talked, and she had seen someone with diabetes insipidus. And she said to me, "I think that's what this is." And she goes, and she's like telling me about this case she dealt with. And I was like, that's me. That is me. That's what I've got. So she took an absolute leap of faith and gave me desmopressin, which is a medication for that. She was only able to prescribe very minor, so she gave it to me in nasal spray for night. And I had to go sick for 2 weeks. All right, worked from home for a week, off sick for a week because they thought the medication might affect me. But oh my God, I slept for a night. I mean, it was probably about 4 hours.
That must be like heaven. First time
it was amazing. And that was the first time I thought, you know, there could be an answer.
Yeah.
She got me on the waiting list to see an endocrinologist because it's basically to do with my brains and hormones and shizzle like that. She got me on the waiting list for a actual specialist rather than the ear, nose and throat one.
Yeah.
I had to go through a series of testing, the first of which was a water deprivation test, which is as horrific as it sounds. I was at Stevenage Hospital, Lister Hospital for the day, and they deprive you of water and monitor you to see what happens. And
now, I've been around you, so I can only imagine.
So they fitted me with my cannula so they can take bloods. They gave me like a measuring jug and told me you can't drink anything. Every time you go to the toilet, you've got to pee in the jug and measure it, write it down, and weigh yourself. We're going to come back later. if you lose more than 10% of your body weight, let us know. He just left me to it. And it was horrific because I had bought so much to do. There were so many books, you know, I had a bit of work to do. I'd like, you know, a freaking jigsaw or something, you know, to entertain me. When dehydration hits, you can't concentrate on anything. After about 20 minutes, I was no use to man or beast.
Mm-hmm.
I was there on my own and I was going out of my mind, essentially. I was pacing this little day unit. I couldn't drink. All I could think about was how I needed to drink. I still kept peeing. And occasionally the sister came to see me and she's like, I can't understand how you're still peeing. And you know me, like, I know. I tried to tell someone this for about 18 months, but
Look,
so yeah, I'm counting my own pee, thinking, how has this happened to my life? It was going quite well. And then I lost 10% of my body weight pretty quickly within about 4 hours.
Wow.
I was down 9-10 pounds, something like that.
Jesus.
And they concluded pretty quickly that this was an issue. And my body essentially doesn't know what to do with water. So it just flushes it through. So it takes it nowhere it needs to go. So like I will be dehydrated, my skin will crack and bleed, I will get a headache, my sodium levels will go squiffy. In theory I can fit. I've never fitted. But yeah, you essentially are experiencing severe dehydration. So after that, they then sent me for a brain scan. I didn't hear anything from the brain scan. So
helpful.
Foolishly,
You thought you were okay.
I thought it was all right. Because
Yeah.
I thought if there'd been anything on your brain scan, they'd tell you, wouldn't they?
Well, obviously.
Yeah, no.
Because no news is good news.
No news is good news. Until 8 months later when they rang me at work and said they found a mass on my brain. They've forgotten to look at it. And we think it might be a brain tumour. Could you come and see us tomorrow? You're like, okay. But part of you's just so grateful that there might be something wrong. You're not going insane.
Reason.
Yeah, there's a reason for this. So part of me was like, oh no, I've got a brain tumour. So I went to the hospital the next day and there's a mass in my head, coupled with this condition, this diabetes insipidus, which we think is now a symptom of the original condition.
Oh.
But I'm very rare. I'm very special. And so the teaching hospitals had a little bit of a fight over me and they did a little bidding process. Would you like to come and see us? We're really good in this area and you're really special. So come and see us. So I had a little choice about what hospital I went to. I was just like, what is nearer and what is going to deal with this? So I ended up at St. Bart's. And
that's London.
Yeah, near St. Paul's there. Teaching hospital. So many a time there was a gaggle of students.
Is that where you used to get sent when you were being bitten by someone?
No, that was St. Thomas.
Oh.
If you thought you'd been bitten by someone with AIDS.
Yeah.
So I went to St. Bart's and long story short, they worked out that I say long story short, I've been talking for fucking hours. I had something called lymphocytic hyperstasis. My
lymphocytic hyperstatus.
Hyperstasis.
Stasis.
Yeah.
I ain't got a list. Oh yeah, I have.
You have got a list. Now you have. My pituitary gland, pituitary stalk at the base of your brain, had developed inflammation. Normally caused by trauma. In my case, probably caused by a virus, but we won't ever know. And the stalk had inflamed. So it wasn't a brain tumour, win-win. It had inflamed, and whilst it was fat, it shot out a few functions and then went back down. So the inflammation went, the lymphocytic hyperstasis went, but it had blown a few things out. And one of the things it had blown out is my body's ability to deal with water, which led to diabetes insipidus, AVPD, which will never come back. It's gone. That ship has sailed. A few other things. Can't have kids.
I was going to say that. Does that affect everything else in your life?
It affects lots of hormone things. So yeah, I can't have kids. there's
Do you have periods?
no, not essentially.
Okay.
I have a ganotrophin deficiency. I am pretty special.
Yeah. How common is it as a condition? I guess it's not. Is it more common in some countries than others? Are many people
no,
here?
so it was like 1 in every 100,000. I was the only one in the Met with it. It is pretty rare. I don't know. There's another girl with it in Peterborough.
No, there's not.
There is, yeah. One of the things that I've learned most about this condition is through a Facebook support group.
Okay.
Because I have learned most GPs don't know about it.
Yeah.
Nurses don't know about it.
Really?
Yeah.
When you think about it.
There's so little knowledge. And even if you look up the NHS website on it, it just says, oh yeah, they just pee a lot and drink a lot.
I mean, it's true.
Could cause some discomfort. You know, when you're like, that doesn't even begin to explain how this affects my life every day. And I have got medication. You know, I take medication every 5 hours. I can manage it. It's still
Having been around you, it's and until you've been around somebody that suffers, you'll never understand what it feels like. I'll never understand what it feels like, but you won't realise the, forgive me on this, the manic fee.
Yeah. And until you spent any real time with me, there's still only a handful of people that I would say understand it. Yeah. And it was true. I mean, like, my parents didn't appreciate it because I wasn't living with them.
You can tell anyone, I drink a lot.
Yeah.
No, I'll drink probably 15 litres. Yeah, of course.
I mean, I still spend about £400 a month on soft drinks.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Which is crazy. And I mean, like, bless my mum, who doesn't live far, when she does her weekly big shop at Tesco's, she will buy me, you know, the sparkling water, things like that. And I have got better. I don't drink the copious amounts of orange juice and things like that. But sometimes I think I'm going to drown internally. And that's a very frightening and strange feeling. But I have consumed so much liquid because I'm so thirsty that I think I'm either going to implode somehow. It physically hurts. I look like I'm 9 months pregnant because I'm full of so much liquid and bloated. And I'm still like, can't concentrate on anything.
When you feel that thirst, when you drink, does it hit it? Does it quench it?
It's like freaking ecstasy, but it lasts for about 2 seconds. Like, if I'm dehydrated and you give me a litre of sparkling water, cold. Oh my God, it's like no joy. And that feeling is so good for a split second, and then it's gone and you need it again. And it's like a weird ass addiction.
Yeah.
But you can't think of anything. If I need water, as you well know, like when we're in Paris, or many a time when we've been out, and now you're pretty accustomed to it, you know not to try and have a conversation with me if I'm like, it's weird to say maniac, isn't it? But that
is how it comes off. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah,
I can only imagine how when it first started happening, how, because you wouldn't have had a clue. I get it, to be fair.
Yeah.
It must have been all of a sudden overnight.
Yeah, pretty much was. It was overnight. And then you've got, like, you can't sleep through the night because your girlfriend's up every 27 minutes. Like, oh God, I would drink anything. And I still will. If I'm in a maniac stage, if I'm in a shower, I will drink shower water.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want to get in the shower so I can drink the water. You know, it's like,
you just want.
Long haul flights are a problem because I can't carry enough liquids.
Yeah.
And like when I got off in Barbados, there was no access to. Just casually dropped in that Barbados. I'd been on a flight and I'd consumed every water receptacle anyone had to offer. The air hostesses kept giving me these little shots of water. I'm like, well, I don't know what you think that's going to do. But I was in a pretty bad way, and but it is an insane condition, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. It's really weird.
But so over the last 18 months, you've had leaving the Met And then you've also lost your dad.
Mm-hmm.
So are you comfortable talking about that?
Yeah.
Yeah? No, but yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
will you talk about that?
No, it's fine. I can talk about it.
I'd like to talk about it, and the reason that I'd like to is because I think
You're a sick individual. No.
because you're an only child, and I can resonate with that, obviously. I think the loss of a parent, and because we are always, as an only child, we are often very much our everything to our parents. It means that when you lose one of the parents, you almost have to step into this spot that you really don't realise you're going to have to.
Yeah.
So I'd kind of like to talk about how it happens and what you end up having to go through. Things that you might not have to talk about if you're comfortable doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
How did it happen? What?
Well, he died.
Oh, dickhead. How? What was...
It's a crazy, surreal situation. So yeah, I've always been close to my parents.
Mhm.
I'm an only child. They love me a lot. They've got nowhere else to direct their love.
They didn't have a lot of choice, did they? No.
Didn't have a lot of options.
Yeah.
So I've always been fairly close to my parents, but especially since then, I've lived around the corner. I do quite a lot with them.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think so. We knew my dad wasn't doing as great. He wasn't getting out as much, things like that. So he had the fall about Christmas 2024, just before it turned to 2025. Okay. And he had a fall when he was walking the dog, but we've got a mental spaniel, or they've got a mental spaniel. So, it wasn't anything too unusual.
Who's he named after?
He's named after Gabriel Squani, the posh defender. So his name's Zach.
Posh legend.
Posh legend. So yeah, they've got a mental spaniel, and he pulled him over when he was out for a walk, and it hurt his arm, and no one really thought too much of it. He was a bit slower over Christmas, and then we come through to January last year, and yeah, his arm was hurting. He didn't feel so great. He wasn't getting out as much, so he went to the doctors. That ended up with him having some tests and some scans, and they found that his lungs they were riddled with emphysema to start off with, which isn't a shocker because he was a smoker. But then they found a mass. It was lung cancer.
Was a smoker, as in he smoked, or?
So he'd given up at points in the last, in the couple of years previous. I would say he was probably a bit of a closet smoker. So he would quite... Did he smoke a lot? No. But did he smoke when he was in the garden sometimes, or when he walked the dog? Yes. There was, a cigar last thing at night. But yeah, they found a mass on his lung, stage 4.
Oh.
And it all became quite strange because it all developed pretty quick. No one would give us a definitive. You think they're going to give you the right, it's got 6 months, it's got 3 months, it's got 2 years. No one gives you that. Well, they certainly didn't in our case. And I was trying to work out, I was trying to get some answers, because, they told us it wasn't great, but they wouldn't give us any clarity. They kept saying, we're going to give you a little bit of radiotherapy, Bob, to help with the pain in your arm. We thought it was the fall, but it was probably actually the lung cancer that had gone down his arm and things like that. But yes, they're like, and that was really bothering him. So they said, we're going to give you some radiotherapy and then we'll make a plan. They wouldn't give us anything, ideas or that sort of thing. So I automatically went into a little bit of a planning place.
Because you're a fixer?
Because I'm a fixer. And I'm like, right, need to know. But they start asking you things and you have to start planning, but you don't know what you're planning for, so it's all a very strange situation. But we were trying to get to grips with it because things like, we were like, wouldn't it be nice to take him away again? you know, like not a last hurrah, but what about if we could all go, the three of us could go to, not abroad, you know, just some of the Norfolk Broads or something. Wouldn't it be nice if we could do that? But no one could give us, or no one was willing to give us any sort of estimations. So I didn't know if we could book something for July. Do you know what I mean? This was February time. Yeah, last year. And so you don't know, it's like you think you've got time. I think you think you've got time to do stuff and to still have some experiences together and things like that. And so radiotherapy can speed up if you've got any dementia symptoms or anything like that. There is scientific research that suggests it can speed it up.
Okay.
So I think that's what happened to Dad, because basically after the radiotherapy there was a severe cognitive decline.
Okay.
I would label it dementia. The hospital labelled it cognitive decline.
Are they medically technically two different things?
Yeah, they say it's just cognitive decline, losing your abilities to do things, you know, your confusion, things like that. I think it was dementia.
Okay.
Because I think there was maybe a few signs there in Dad, and then when the radiotherapy went through, it was just
so there were probably, for you, there were a few dementia signs before.
Yeah,
right.
There was a little bit of confusion, you know, a little bit.
How old was he?
He was 77.
Okay.
So there was a little bit of, you know, confusion. A little bit. He didn't like change, things like this, you know. So he had the radiotherapy, and then it just went all very bad very quickly.
When would the radiotherapy have been?
Finished it about late April.
Okay.
Last year, and he was, you know, he was starting to see things. He thought his dad was in the room and things like that. That sort of confusion. We're not talking like he can't remember whether, you know,
whether it's April or May.
Yeah, he started to, you know, there's things he couldn't. At one point, he forgot my name. You know, and that really.
Were you there when he did that?
Yeah, and the distress that caused him upset me more than the actual act. Yeah. You know, and he was struggling, he was getting upset, but I don't think what they prepared us for was the fact that an infection could wipe him out. You know, you don't think that, you think he's got cancer. Okay, you can't cure it. There was suggestion that it wasn't it wasn't imminent, so to speak. He was, you know, functioning, he was at home, he was eating, he was drinking, he was still going out for coffee with us, all these sort of things. And yeah, so there wasn't anything imminently worrying. And then he got an infection. He took to his bed, and after a few days, he wasn't eating, he wasn't drinking.
He was at home though?
Yeah. And they think it was a UTI infection.
Oh.
He'd had antibiotics, they weren't working. So the GP made the decision they should send him to hospital.
When's this, March?
June.
Oh, okay.
It was Father's Day weekend.
Okay, like 13, 14, something like
that.
Yeah.
And had made the decision to spend the weekend at theirs. And it was good because I baked Dad a cake because there was no point buying him a present. And you know, that's a really horrible realization, but he didn't need anything. He didn't want anything. You know, what we're going to do. Give him? Yeah. So I baked him a cake. I baked him his favourite cake.
Which is?
I baked him a Guinness cake. So a chocolate Guinness cake.
Was Dad a drinker?
Not particularly. He liked a whiskey. But he did like the Guinness cake because it's chocolate and it's really rich. So he enjoyed that when I made it in the past. So I thought, I'm going to make him that. So I was around there for the weekend, made him that. I bought him a card, obviously. So he'd opened the card and everything on the Sunday, and he'd seen the cake. He's like, I'm going to have a bit of that tomorrow. Looks good, you know, thank you, and all that sort of thing. But he didn't get up on the Monday because the virus had started, or the infection had started. And I'd had to go back home, work, you know. Sad as it is, life goes on. And we didn't think that was the end.
No.
You know, you just don't. he wasn't very well, but it didn't. He ended up going into hospital on the Thursday, so he didn't get up out of bed again. They took him into hospital on the Thursday. He was there for 10 days before he died. And he had a UTI infection. But then he caught C. diff in hospital. So then he had to go in isolation. The cognitive decline was massive. He fell off a cliff. He ceased to become dad. And it was just horrific. Those 10 days were horrific. So much so that I had to have some trauma rewind therapy to see beyond it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I couldn't see beyond those 10 days with dad. And they said, it's not the people, it's the system. But they said to us, like, he's not going to be able to go home. He's going to have to go into a home. How much money have you got? How much savings has he got? Because if he's got more than this, if he owns it at home, he's going to have to pay for it. Have you got the money for it? And
that's straightforward, isn't it? It's direct.
It was awful. And Mum was like, we had a really good Macmillan nurse and things like that, but Mum was under the impression that, like, and rightly so, that if he couldn't come, she wanted him to come home. If he couldn't come home, he was going to go into a hospice.
Mm-hmm.
But then they told us he wasn't sick enough for a hospice. About 5 days before he died. Not sick enough for a hospice. So then he's going to need to go into a home. And, like, what plans have you made? Haven't made any plans. And it all became very transactional. And yeah, it was grim, basically. It was grim. He kept falling out of bed, so they just put him on a mattress on the floor.
Oh, God.
And we used to go in, and he didn't know who we were.
Was this at the local
hospital?
Peaceful.
Yeah. And I just lie on the floor with him, And so it was just a really horrible time. 10 days. Mum, there was only me, only child. We don't have a big family. Like, Mum's brother was brilliant, but he can't drive. He can't be in the hospital for various reasons and things like that. So he couldn't come down. So it was just me and Mum. And it's tough because you have to step up, and I had to be a fixer anyway. And she was struggling with it, obviously. She's been with him over 50 years. Yeah, they were soulmates. And that's the only guy she's ever lived with. She's never lived on her own. They'd been through, like, everything together. And she was really struggling. Each time we saw him, she was quite upset. And I was, like, trying to mask it so that she didn't see me upset.
Because I would have just made it even worse if she then sees you in pieces.
Yeah. But, yeah, so it was the following Monday, no one, and I don't blame for this, but no one really saw it coming from the point of view of, I went into work on that Monday, and I went into London to the office because I needed to. And I sometimes think if I'd have known, I think if I had have known, that I wouldn't have gone into work. I wouldn't have gone into London, so I was so far away. But no one thought it was going to happen. They'd all said, like, I don't think he's got years, and all this sort of vague skirting around it. I knew he wasn't living forever, let's be honest, but I did not think it was going to happen the next day.
Yeah.
So it's the first time I hadn't gone in twice a day to see him.
To see him, yeah.
Yeah. So I went up to London, and I had something booked in that evening. I just got a phone call from my mum, and she's just like, your dad's gone. So then there's the rush to get home from London. And they said they'd only leave him there for 2 hours before they moved him to the morgue. So it's like, I had to try and get home. I'm like messaging my boss. I'm like, my dad's just died. I'm going to need tomorrow off. You know, like there's that, right, I've got to put an out of office on.
Mhm.
Have I got any meetings tomorrow that I need to cancel? Right, I'm going to need this. And you just go, or I did. I just went straight into fixing mode because someone had to and there wasn't anyone else. I rang you. I'm like, you pick me up from the station. I need to get to the hospital. Got to the hospital. It was just after 9, so they've shut the front doors. So I have to try and get myself through A&E and up there. And my mum's ringing me, and she's like, "They're gonna move him soon. Where are you?" But I did get there just in time to, I don't know, to see him before they moved him. And then it just becomes quite transactional again. They're like, these are his things in this bag. Do you want to take them home? You know, or like, he's still wearing his pajamas. What do you want to do with them? Do you want to collect them tomorrow? And you're like,
I don't know what fucking day it is right
you
now.
know, I don't know where I am, what I'm
Yeah.
doing. I don't really care about his Tesco pajama bottoms, you know. But and then we just went home, me and Mum, and you're like, it's surreal. I still find a lot of it quite surreal because
We say you went home.
went to my mum's.
You both went to your mum's.
We both went to
The
mum's.
family home.
Yeah, family home. Dog was there. We both went there.
Zach, like,
Zach's like, I don't really know what's going on. Would you like to play with my ball? And yeah, and then for a couple of nights, we just, well, for the first night, we just sat on the sofa together, largely crying. But the next day, things need to be arranged.
Mhm.
So then you have to start sorting out arrangements. So, you know, the team from the hospital ring you, ask you if you thought about, you know, undertakers and things like that. And then you get plunged into this world that you know nothing about, but you need to learn pretty quick. So over the following 3 weeks, I organised the funeral. I wrote a eulogy. You know, I worked out who was coming and who was, you know, saying things. And I got my mum through it. She wasn't feeling very well.
she wasn't well health-wise either,
No,
was she?
she had a pain in her stomach that we knew needed to be looked at, but one reason or another, she didn't want to go to the doctor until after the funeral. I registered the death. I worked out on probate. You know, started notifying institutions, get your death certificate.
What was the biggest thing that came that you thought, I didn't see this as being something that I'd have to think about?
It was a really silly thing. Their car was registered in Dad's name.
Right.
And Mum was a named driver. They'd had the car for years. It's always the way it's worked. But then she can't drive anywhere.
Right.
Because the car's registered in Dad's name, so it's not insured when Dad's not there. So that was probably the most practical. She couldn't get anywhere. So she wanted to like pick her brother up because he was going to come and stay with us for a few. She couldn't do that.
My favourite uncle.
Your favourite uncle, yeah. And it's the little things that were probably the most difficult, you know, because I hadn't factored those in. And I hadn't factored in. So my dad used to be a trust and estate manager when he was working. So he used to do a lot of wills and setting up charitable trusts and things like that. So it was kind of his field. But he hadn't written a will. He hadn't done a will.
That amazes me for your dad.
It doesn't. You know, it does amaze me. But he knew where everything was going to go because it was only me and Mum.
Yeah, okay.
And he didn't feel that he didn't need to do it.
Yeah, okay.
So it was one of these things they were going to do, but he knew he wouldn't need to. He knew Mum was looked after and all that sort of thing. But I wasn't perhaps prepared for once I started telling people that he died and things, and you started sorting this stuff out, and people were like, "Why hasn't he done a will?" And that really upset me because it felt like a criticism of him.
Yeah.
Like he was stupid or something.
Yeah.
And he wasn't. He just didn't see the need because he knew everything would go to Mum. Like, she's not like living the dream, but you know, there's enough to look after her, there's enough to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And that's always what he wanted, what he planned.
Yeah.
But I started getting a little bit of, you know, pushback from that.
Yeah,
and like,
feeling defensive, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I rang like the not the insurance, the pensions people and that sort of thing. And they were like, well, did you will? And I'm like, no, he didn't. Oh, that's a bit of a problem. And you know, we're like, don't tell me that's a problem. You know, I'm highly emotional right now. Don't tell me that's a problem. But we did it. We did the funeral. We arranged the funeral. And I don't think, yeah, still surreal. I mean, I spoke at my dad's funeral, and I don't think you quite know, I don't know whether loss is the right word or whatever, until you have stood there in front of people, or like until you followed a coffin in of, like, it was, but we did it. I picked the music. It was good music. You know, we'd done it all in, like, he had a bamboo coffin before he was cremated because he was, you know, he was a warden for the Fish and Wildlife Trust. And I'd done that, and that was on the Friday, about 3 weeks after. Did all that. Monday, we had to deal with Mum. So I got her to a GP, and that led to her being admitted to hospital for 4.5 months, basically. Curveball, I think we can call that. But yeah, basically Mum had got diverculitis, she got an infected bowel, and they battled to save it for 4 months, and then they had to remove a large amount of it, and that left her with a stoma bag and a different way of life. But there were times when I thought she wasn't going to make it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was struggling after Dad, obviously, but I was very much keeping a lid on that. But then you face the prospect that your mum's going to die too, and then I would be alone. And that's kind of, you go through this weird state of, I can't let that happen. So, you know, I'm looking after Mum. Then you're like, oh, it's a bit selfish, thinking about yourself ending up alone. Shouldn't really be thinking about that at this moment in time.
I don't think many people understand that. Well, they won't, but not many people understand that feeling of that alone thing.
Yeah.
That when the parents go, that all of a sudden, especially when you're single like we are.
I'm single. I've got no brothers and sisters. I've got no kids. Small family. I am going to be alone. You know, it's only a matter of time. And I've got good friends, but that doesn't quite cut it.
No, it doesn't.
For the fact that I am very aware I am ending up alone.
Yeah.
And I think that realization that was going to hit me, it felt like quite soon.
Yeah.
I'd lost my purpose anyway. I couldn't see, apart from my mum, there was no reason to live. Do you know what I mean? There was no reason to carry on.
Yeah.
Mum was the only thing then. And then when you think you're going to lose her, and they were telling me that, you know, they needed to operate on her, but they were too worried to operate on her because she was so full of infection that she'd probably die anyway.
Oh, Christ.
Meanwhile, we've got her who's in and out of, like, some sort of awareness of what's going on. She can't see the point. Is she grieving? It's hard to say, because part of her wasn't grieving.
There's definitely an element of her that's grieving, but she can't see that she's grieving, so she can't acknowledge that she's grieving, I imagine. So she doesn't think she is.
No.
But she has to have been.
Yeah, she was. But yeah, so then I just slotted into this routine whereby I moved into a house because I had to look after the dog. So then I'm living in my mum and dad's house.
Oh, God, then the dog's ill.
Yes, then the dog's
God,
ill.
then we nearly lost his dog as well, didn't we? Jesus Christ.
Oh, my God, it was so dramatic. But yeah, so I moved into the house. I'm surrounded by dad's stuff.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's all still there. I didn't have my own bed there. I slept on the sofa. And I couldn't sleep at night, so I'm falling asleep in front of the TV. I've got this fucked up sleep pattern. I'm getting up. I walk the dog. I then hold down a full-time job So I'm doing some emails. I'm doing some meetings in the morning before visiting hours starts at 11. I then decamp to the hospital. From 11 to about 5 each day, I work from the hospital bedside. And then I'm washing, I'm taking her clean clothes. I wash her when we get there. You know, she's so sad. She's so distressed. I'm trying to, motivate her. She wasn't eating at points, so I'm trying to buy her snacks that might get her to eat. And yeah, the couple of days while she was in there that I had to go into the office, and she had friends that stepped up 100%. Or I'm paying a fortune to park at the hospital. I go home about 5 p.m. so I can feed and walk the dog. And then I would do I'd ring the electricity board and tell her that, we needed to change Dad's name off the account. Or I had to ring the pension people so that we could get some money to pay her bills so that we could keep the house going, and then I'm still texting her when she could text. Sometimes her fingers were too fat. Or sometimes she's ringing me in tears, and I'm trying to, oh God, I don't know. I'm trying to motivate her.
Yeah.
I'm trying to convince her to keep living.
Yet you're at the bottom.
And then the dog gets cancer. Then the dog.
Bloody hell, Zach.
The dog's got a
Read
lump.
the fucking room, Zach.
The dog's got a lump. It's cancer. We need to remove it. So I take him down for surgery, and we remove it. It doesn't heal. The stitch is
God,
bust.
it was hanging out. It was awful.
So then, at one point, I had to take him to the emergency vets on bank holiday. So I'm whacking that on my credit card. He's costing me a fortune. I'm sleeping on the floor with him because he's like, dog crying. And when he put the collar on, the cone of shame, like he's headbutting a wall. I had to buy him special suits so that this wound would shut. So I mean, it was insane. Obviously, I couldn't regulate my condition because my medical conditions gets fucked up when I'm stressed or when I don't sleep. So, I mean, oh my God, looking back, it's almost like a comedy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it was so shit. Managed to get my mum out of hospital for a week so that we could go down and scatter my dad's ashes. She was like a shell of her former self. She had a drain in her. So I was cleaning and flushing this drain. The hospital taught me what to do with this drain every day. I was convincing her to take tablets she didn't want to take. She didn't like the taste, all this sort of thing. Absolute pandemonium. So yeah, we're down in the West Country to scatter the ashes. She's freezing, so she's wearing 14 layers, doesn't want to take her tablets, won't eat or drink, and is just sleeping or crying. The dog's got a cone of shame on its head. He's like, I'm having to clean his wound, then I'm having to wash out mum's drain. And I'm quite starting to question, what the hell's happened with my life. Still trying to maintain a full-time job. And it was just pandemonium. So I get her home, had to call an ambulance out for her because I thought she was going to peg it on the sofa. They rushed her in. They couldn't do anything, so they had to operate. And I remember calling my mum's friend, and I'm like, I need someone. Judy, I need someone. Because they're talking about operating on mum. I think I might lose her. And I've gone over to look after the dog. And it was, yeah, I can't even explain it. I felt.
How do you think you come out the other side, though?
Because you have to. Because there is no option. And this is what this is about. You can do hard things. Sometimes you choose to do hard things. Sometimes you choose to throw yourself out of a plane. And that is admirable. But sometimes you have no choice.
Yeah, got no choice. You just
got to do it. There is no one else to keep this going. I had to keep this ship afloat. And so I did.
Can you describe grief?
It's surreal. I still can't believe that he's not here.
Yeah.
That he's not coming back.
Yeah.
And how do you believe that? How do you that's reality? And I still have days like yesterday. The needle on my record player's gone.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how to change that.
I don't know.
Dad will know. Dad will sort that out for me because I've got his record collection. So Dad will know how to fix that. That's not there. So I'm like, oh, I have to YouTube it or something. But it is weird and it's hard. But then I feel like there's freaking millions of people going through this. And I ain't special. I'm not like everyone else is dealing with it. I need to deal with it. And I do.
You are dealing with it.
Yeah. But it doesn't change the fact it's fucking hard. But I just find the whole thing quite surreal. That someone disappears and then they're not here.
Is there anything you wish you could say to him? Or do you find that you have done through other ways?
I don't know. It's weird. Like, I feel that constant that I need to make him proud. And that, you know, but I think that's natural.
Yeah.
I think that's just grief.
If you'd lost your mum and not your dad, would you have felt that same need?
I think it would have been different. If I'd have lost my mum and I had to get my dad through it, my mum can cope on her own.
Yeah.
Practically, she can cope on her own. Whereas I don't think my dad would. I think my dad would have, like, just ceased.
Yeah.
You know.
Just sat in the chair, wouldn't he?
Yeah. And I feel the need to make my dad proud. Whereas I feel like it was just like winging it with my mum. Do you know what I mean?
Your mum is proud.
Yeah.
But
my dad would be.
I know, but the reason I ask that is because I get that, because I know that I feel that same thing with my dad all the time, and I fucking know he's proud of me. But and I know my mum is, but I wouldn't feel that same thing with my mum.
Yeah. I feel like
I'm so relatable with you with so many things.
Yeah. I think I feel the need to make my dad proud. I feel that need continues.
Do you feel like everything you do, you're still doing to make him proud?
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas I do think it would be different with my mum. You know, my mum loves me unconditionally. Not that my dad didn't.
No, yeah.
But it was just enough for my mum that, you know, like, I gave her I text her.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
And that, like, I come round for Sunday lunch.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like I need to do well in my career for my dad now.
Yeah.
You know, he needs to know that I did the right thing, changing job. And I need my dad to feel proud that I still own my house. Yeah, it meant so much to my dad that I bought my own property.
Yes.
But yeah, it's a really strange new normal. And I think we're getting there.
Where do you think your future is?
Millionaire husband. Oh no. I think it's always around here now. I could never be that far from my mum because she needs me. And I mean,
I think you need her too.
I need her as well, you know? So it will never be far from here. And I think, you know, I don't have regrets. I don't have, you know.
When you say you don't have, you'd rather regret having done something as opposed to regret having not done something.
Yeah. I mean, God, I've made some bad decisions. I continue to make some mainly financial decisions. I mean, I spend like I'm a millionaire. I've made bad calls, but they've got me where I am. And I don't regret where I am. I'm proud of where I am. But yeah, you know, it's not plain sailing, is it? But I don't sweat the small stuff now. We've got no time and for like a lot of life's little worries cease because you realise how insignificant they are. So, and that's quite good for the focus. So now, you know, I live for today. I've got faith in where I am. I live for today. I seize opportunities. Life is too short, and all the cliches I'm going to trot out, but I believe them. And I've come through it, and I'm strong, and all this jazz. You don't know. Sometimes you don't get a choice in it. You just have to be, and but you will get through. I've got my mum through it. You know, life is different, but you know, it still goes on, and we plan new adventures, and we spend our money.
Thank you,
But
Laura. You have been the perfect example of that you can do hard things, and I love you for all of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, should we have a little emotional bit?
Yes.
An emotional.
Wow, that one was emotional. A huge thank you to Laura for joining me and sharing her story so openly and so honestly. Some of the conversations you've heard today they're so personal, and I'm incredibly grateful that she's trusted me and all of you listening with those experiences. I really believe her openness will help far more people than either of us will ever really realise. And thank you for spending your time with us today. It genuinely means so much that you've listened to me. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd really appreciate it if you could follow or subscribe to You Can Do Hard Things wherever it is you're listening. Every like, comment, subscription, and share really does help more people discover these conversations. If this is the first episode you've stumbled upon, don't forget to check out the rest of the series. There are conversations with guests from policing, elite sport, TV, many other walks of life, all sharing the moments that tested them, what helped them through, and the lessons they've learned along the way. Thank you again for listening. I can't do it without you. Life can be pretty shit sometimes. It throws things at us that we never expected and often never deserved. But whatever you're facing right now, you've got this. And remember, you really can do hard things. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you soon.